I've been living here in the Bay Area for 20 years now, and I'm very grateful that I can live in kind of both worlds. I can be here in the beautiful United States with its national parks and beautiful and lots of opportunities, but also go back to Switzerland. This picture here, that's me on the Jungfraujoch that was taken last September when we were able to go back to see family there. Up to you, René.
Yeah, well, like Monica, I'm fortunate to have been born in Switzerland in the Basel area, and at the same time immigrated to the United States and grew up here in the California, San Francisco area. And for the past 50 years, my whole tourism career, I've been this bridge between Switzerland and the USA and Switzerland. When I was a TLA sales rep in Zurich, telling the Swiss about America, representing many Swiss destinations in the USA, telling Americans about Switzerland, and for the past 10 years, guiding people to and through Switzerland. So it's a pleasure to share experiences on how we can help you with your planning on a future trip. We thought we would give you some sights and sounds to get the evening started. This is one of Switzerland's most famous mountains, Mount Rigi. It actually started tourism in the world in 1863. Thomas Cook led the first British group to Switzerland, and they ended up here in this mountain. It's one of the favorites of us Swiss. It's easy to get to, beautiful scenery, and this is what you can expect.
So Switzerland is in the middle of Central Europe, as you know, and it's surrounded by land, so you won't have an ocean in Switzerland. The population of Switzerland is about 8.5 million people, so it's just slightly larger than just the Bay Area. So for comparison, Switzerland is not part of the EU, even though it's in the middle of all the EU countries. We use Swiss francs as our currency. We're surrounded by Germany in the north, France in the west, Italy in the south, and Austria in the east. And then there's also this even smaller country, Liechtenstein, that's in the northeast of Switzerland.
And you would, here, let's see here. And you would think with such a small area, basically in 3 hours or 4 hours, you've driven through Switzerland, you wouldn't expect that there would be 4 national languages. The orange represents the Swiss German. It's actually 15th century German, and you have a wide range of dialects from where Monica is from in the eastern part to where I'm from in Basel. As a Swiss, you can kind of know where somebody's from by their accent. The green area is the French-speaking area. It's about 20% of the population. The purple on the south is Ticino. It's the Italian-speaking part of Switzerland. And this violet in the Graubünden is Romansch. It's kind of a Latin-based language that 50,000 people speak, and yet there's 5 languages. So this diversity in languages allows for great variety within a small distance. And so we thought we would maybe share some of the reasons why you'd want to go to Switzerland. And basically all the people when I've guided, if it's been on a hike or on a train tour, they're just blown away with the scenery. They just say, I can't believe it. It's the Swiss Alps. Even the Austrians say the Swiss Alps are the best. And it's just incredible nature, scenery. You never get tired in Switzerland, no matter where you are.
And that sustainability is another reason. It's a great way to travel to Switzerland. In Switzerland, public transportation is wonderful. So you will never have to rent a car. You can get around by bus, train, boat, just like this one. That's a boat they just newly built. It's on Lake Lucerne. It's called the Diamond, the Diamant. And it's energy neutral. It's you can rent this for weddings or events, but it's also during the week. It's just as a regular commuter boat used as that. And when we talk about sustainability, we also talk about food. Lots of Swiss restaurants have started to do the farm-to-table, offer farm-to-table food. And well, when we talk about food in Switzerland, you probably think fondue and chocolate. And of course, when you go there, you have to try it. And there are so many different cheeses in Switzerland. I read something, I think average Swiss person eats 50 pounds of cheese a year. And when we here in the United States, you think Swiss cheese, but Swiss cheese is just one of the many, many different cheeses we have in Switzerland. There's also lots of other food. Because of the surrounding countries, Swiss food is very diverse. So we have more Italian food, we have the Germans, the French that have had influenced our food. So the first ever official vegetarian restaurant is also in Switzerland. It's in Zurich, and it's the longest running. It's still open. It's the Hiltel House. So if you ever want to go vegetarian, it's a good way to go eat in Switzerland too.
And of course, Switzerland has wines, which a lot of Americans aren't that familiar with, but here's a white wine bottle that has the Matterhorn on the back. And on our train tours, we include dinners. And because of we go to all these regions in Switzerland, we make sure that the food we have at the dinner table represents the area. And the other thing that makes Switzerland is interesting, it was founded in 1291 in a little pasture very close to the in the Lake Lucerne area. And so it has a great history. You see Roman ruins and things, but with 700 years of a country, there's just lots of things to talk about. And that's also why if you have a guide, whatever, it allows you to kind of learn more about the area over and above just seeing the scenery.
There's very diverse culture. When you think about Switzerland, you might think about Alp horn playing and yodeling, which is, yeah, I do play actually the Alp horn. I can't yodel though, but there's so much more Switzerland to see and to listen to. So Switzerland is actually has 12 UNESCO World Heritage Sites to see. It's got more than 900 museums you can visit. There are operas you can go see. You can the famous jazz festival in Montreux in Switzerland. There is a pretty famous film festival in Locarno as well. There's really a lot to do, so you're never getting bored. And last but not least, there's a lot of fun stuff to do. This was also taken on last September. These little people are my actually tall kids. This is a really big slide on top of a 9,000-foot mountain, cow slide, but there's a lot to do there. There is toboggan running. You can do rope climbing, everything. So there's stuff to do for little people and old people.
Yeah, it really is. We've had grandparents and their grandkids. We've had parents and their kids. There's just a variety of activities so that whatever age and interest, people will have a good time. But let's maybe take a look at some of the places you might want to add to your trip to Switzerland. And the Zurich and Geneva airports are the major ones. Many people arrive in Zurich just because it's maybe a little bit easier. I worked for TWA. I was a sales rep in Zurich. So every day I'd be going to offices and travel agencies, got to know the place pretty well. And there's an old town, and it's a medieval town. You see interesting churches. This one here is St. Peter's Church. It's one of the biggest clocks in the Grossmünster in the 16th century. The Reformation also happened in Switzerland. And from that, one of the churches, the offshoot were the Mennonites and the Amish that are here in the United States. And here are Chagall windows and another famous church. So there's just, it's an interesting place to arrive and stay. And at the same time, Lucerne is a great place to start your trip in Switzerland, just because it's an hour from the Zurich airport. It's the beginning of the Alps geographically. And there's, so you have a medieval town, this Chapel Bridge, which a lot of people are familiar with from the picture. It was part of the wall built in 1408. Here we have, again, the Rigi Mountain. So you have Alps and green pastures. And the Pilatus, which is also another mountain in Lucerne, which is the first Alp actually in the country. So Lucerne offers a great way to acclimate and get started on a Swiss trip. And here are some of the features you would experience.
Next, we're going to go to Grindelwald. Grindelwald is a perfect location if you want to go visit the Swiss Alps. And this is a picture of the Jungfraubahn. This is the highest train that goes up the highest mountain. It goes up to 11,333 feet. And when you go up there, there's a restaurant up there. There's a glacier museum up there. It's beautiful, beautiful scenery up there. So that's the Jungfraubahn. One of my favorites we did last September as well. And if you want to go on another mountain, there is the next picture. You see the Schildhorn. If you look closely, you might see the 007 there. Actually, the 1969 movie in Your Majesty's Service was filmed there right before the restaurant opened. That's actually a revolving restaurant up there, and wonderful. If you have a good weather, beautiful scenery up there. Grindelwald is also a good location to go to see the Lauterbrunnen area. The Lauterbrunnen area has 72 waterfalls. And some of those waterfalls are actually really famous because they inspired Tolkien and they inspired Goethe to write about it. Then you'll see probably lots of chalets with geraniums on them. The Swiss are very proud of their geraniums. So there's a little side note. My first apartment I've rented, I had it in my lease that I had to put geraniums in my window, and that was kind of tricky when you're 20-something years old and have to make sure they survive. But it looks very pretty in the summer. All the geraniums in the chalets.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And again, people that are limited on time, we at Echo Trails, we have a day tour in the Grindelwald area with a local guide. We also include this in our multi-hike program, in our train program. So there's lots of ways to actually visit these places.
Next, we're going to go to Geneva. Geneva is in the west. They speak French there. My French is not that great, as my daughter can attest. She might be listening to this tonight. The water fountain is called Jet d'eau, which is just translated as water jet. Geneva is a very international city because of the UN. The second picture, that's the UN headquarters. That's in Geneva. When you're in Geneva, it's very close to go to Montreux. Montreux has the jazz festival, but it's also home of Châteauchiant. It's one of the most beautiful castles in Switzerland. It's right on Lake Geneva. When you're in the area, you can also go visit a watch museum. This one is in La Chaux-de-Fonds. Watches in Switzerland are, of course, very famous. There are actually really strict rules when you can actually call a watch a Swiss watch. There are several museums you can learn about the history of Swiss watches. And last but not least, there is the Lavaux region. René talked earlier that the Swiss make wine, and that's a big wine region over there. Very good, mostly white wines there. In Switzerland, there are also red wines, but the white wines come from that area. And it's a beautiful region. It's also a World Heritage Site, one of the 12 ones in Switzerland.
I'm getting thirsty with wine. I just have an empty bottle. I need to get a glass. And of course, Switzerland and the iconic Matterhorn is a great place to go visit. And my first experience on the Matterhorn was the Matterhorn ride at Disneyland. And I remember walking in one of the restaurants in Zermatt, and I saw a black and white photo of Walt Disney. So he visited Zermatt in the 50s to get his idea about obviously one of the rides that we still see. And in Zermatt, it's easy to take public transportation to a plateau like this, the Gornergrat, and just sit in a terrace and enjoy the Alps. Of the 70 Alps that are 4,000 meters and higher, half of them are in the Zermatt area. So it is just an incredible place to visit, a great buzz, great views. So this almost, I would say, would be one of the highlights. In other words, start early, lowland, Zurich, Lucerne, maybe Grindelwald or whatever, and then one of your highlights is Zermatt. And right, so here we have a picture of Lugano, again in the Italian part. Americans are very surprised to hear Italy. We go through this tunnel, the Gotthard Tunnel, and then all of a sudden we're in the Ticino, and people say, "Are we in Italy?" So no, this is Switzerland. Yeah, and everything works. It's Swiss francs, the efficiency, and all this kind of thing. So it's just also an interesting place to visit. We also have day tours here. We also included in our train tours. Again, it's just an interesting place to visit. We have these outdoor grottos. So it's kind of the Florida of Switzerland. The weather on the northern part of the Alps may be inclement. You check your weather report, and Swiss will get on a train, and in an hour or so, you're in this part of the world. And you also have heard of St. Moritz, probably more in relationship to skiing, as it hosted the 1928 and 1948 Olympics. But in the summer, it's also a very famous and interesting, wonderful place to visit, because you can take public transportation like a gondola up to this 10,000-foot plateau. And you're looking at these Alps. They're just kind of staring you in the face. And so its brand is top of the world. And so when you go up to these summits, you get a sense of why that, what the beauty is. And at the same time, it's a village by a lake, and you can walk around the lake. So again, it's a beautiful place to stay in the summer.
Last but not least, we're going to St. Gallen. St. Gall is in the northeastern part of Switzerland. It's kind of the economic center of the northeastern part. There is a famous university, a very good business school in St. Gall. It's also famous for its textile industry. It used to produce a lot of the famous embroidery textiles. There's a small textile museum in St. Gall that you can visit. Very interesting. But the most popular destination in St. Gall is its abbey. As you can see, this one hosts a library. It's the probably most famous and most important monastic library in the world. It houses manuscripts that are from the 8th and 9th century. It has books that were printed before 1500s, and it was a place for learning in the medieval times. So it's a very interesting and worth a visit if you're interested in history. Definitely go to Saint-Gall. If you have more time around that region, you can venture out to Lake Constance. That's just a few, maybe half an hour away. This one is, we're cheating a little bit. This picture was taken in Germany, just across the lake, but there are pile dwellings all over Switzerland on lakes and rivers. Some of them are almost 7,000 years old. So it's very interesting to visit as well.
Now, Monica, you haven't talked about the bratwurst, you know?
Oh, right. I forgot about the bratwurst.
Switzerland, every area says, I got the best sausages. So tell us about the St. Galler bratwurst.
So there's a fair, kind of a farmer's fair in St. Gall every year. And it's called the Olma, and they make the best bratwurst. It's a white veal bratwurst. Actually, Safeway makes something similar or sells something similar. It's not as good as the Olma bratwurst, but yeah, we eat that, just the bratwurst with mustard and a good bread.
And so on our train tour, we go to St. Gallen and visit the Abbey, and then we do connect to St. Moritz. Now, is it true in St. Gallen, if you actually add mustard to the sausage, you're insulting the host?
Well, I don't know that because I lived there for 4 years, but
okay, yeah,
I didn't grow up there, so I have to ask my St. Gall friends.
Okay, yeah, it's just a neat experience to have a St. Galler bratwurst. So now that you have a bit of a sense of some of the places to visit, and they're actually, you know, relatively closely linked, maybe an hour or two by train. Monica, tell us what you think is the best way to get around in Switzerland.
Yeah, so when you arrive in Zurich, there's actually a train station right underneath the airport. So you just get your ticket, whatever ticket fits your needs, and then you hop on a train. You can go on a commuter train and go from Zurich to Lucerne in less than an hour, or to Bern, Basel, wherever you want to go. If you want to have a little more adventure, then there are some panoramic trains like this one. That's the Glacier Express. It's also called the slowest express train. It goes from St. Moritz to Zermatt or vice versa. And I'm not sure, but I think it takes about 8 hours, right?
Yeah, if you do the whole thing. Yeah.
It's if you do the whole thing, and you have to.
One go. Yeah, if you do it one go, exactly.
It is beautiful. There are other panoramic trains. One of them goes from Lucerne to Lugano through the Gotthard, and there's the Bernina Express. That one goes down to Italy, actually. There's some other panoramic trains there, which is wonderful. And on a lot of the trains, there are actually restaurants as well. So if you want to go to smaller places, you might have to take a bus to a village or something. In the cities, you have the trams. We call them tram or the tramli, depending what city you're going to. You can take the boats. So a lot of even commuters take boats. When I still lived in Switzerland, my husband and we lived near Lake Zurich in Rapperswil. And sometimes on a Friday night, we would take a boat. They also have restaurants on some of the boats. We would take a boat to Zurich, just eat dinner, and then take the train home. Whenever we were done with dinner, we exited the boat, and when we were landing somewhere, and then go back by train and go back home. And there are lots of cogwheel trains, gondolas, cable cars, and the list goes on. You can travel. You do not ever have to take a car anywhere.
Yeah, and what's neat is everything is in sync. So the boat arrives at the dock, and then it's in sync with the cogwheel train that goes up, or in sync with the cable car that goes up, or in sync with the local bus that goes up. And I believe one of the federal transportation policies is a citizen shouldn't have to wait more than 30 or 60 minutes to get from their place of residence to their place of work. So moving Swiss to where they can work has been a big priority. And in the mountain area, in the Graubünden, for example, there's a train company called Rhaetian Railway. And so these people in the mountains and rural areas can get to work in the cities. So it's a real, the public transportation is a real important economic impact for the Swiss society.
Then we come to hiking. Hiking in Switzerland is also Swiss are really organized. So when you want to hike in Switzerland, you have these yellow signs. So it tells you how much time it will take to go to a place. So if you're a moderate hiker, it's about right. So if you're faster, then you're a little faster. Some people might take longer. So let's say you want to go to Qingla. It will take you about 2 hours and 10 minutes. And it's just not, the signs tell you other things. So to go to Qingla, because it has those white and red stripes next to it, you have to wear good shoes because it's more a trail than a easy hike. So it's more a mountain trail. It also tells you on the sign there is actually a restaurant on top on that mountain. If you want to go to Hazerock, which is a long hike, 4 hours and 50 minutes, if you're tired and you do not want to go back those 4 hours, 50 minutes, there is a gondola up there. It tells you that as well. It tells you if there is a bus station or a train station, or in Quinton, there is a boat you can take and go to another place. The sign also, you see that white sign, it tells you the altitude, where you are actually and what the altitude there is. And you see the sign with the bike. Switzerland has an extensive bike path system, which is great as well. And so these are two of my favorite people. We were on a hike that was about 5-6 years ago. That's near Lenk in the Alps. It was a beautiful day, and we hiked for a while, and then we took the gondola back down.
Yeah, it's just I've had so many people, parents or grandparents and children hiking, and it's just a joy as a guide to kind of sense the satisfaction and the joy and the fun people have in these areas. And it's Sound of Music time. I mean, I've had people, they just hug another and they're singing Sound of Music. Or if you're fortunate enough to kind of find an Edelweiss, they're singing Edelweiss. And as Monica mentioned, Switzerland is very organized with these signposts. There's the trails are numbered for a hiking trail or a biking trail. And while a Swiss knows all this, if we are visitors, it's kind of foreign to us. So on our day tours or our multi-day hike tours, we have a guide that hikes with you maybe for the first day, and just make sure you understand how all the signs work and what the white and the red mean and what the numbers mean. But once you understand it, you can just have your hiking map and a number, and you just go from post to post, and you can't get lost.
Another thing in Switzerland is compared to here, I love to hike. I love to hike here too, but here you have to always remember to bring a water bottle and to bring food if you go on a longer hike. In Switzerland, the only thing you need to bring is probably a rain jacket, because sometimes the weather can change quickly in the mountains, and a big wallet, because there is always a restaurant on a mountaintop. So, but it's always great to have a place to go.
Yeah. And it's usually a local. See, that's the other thing.
Yep.
In these remote areas, it's a local. They live there. And many of them are farmers. They make their cheese. So it's just so authentic. I mean, here you are, in a Sound of Music setting, you come across this building, it's the farmer, and usually he has a little window where you can buy stuff, or they actually have a fridge on the outside, and it says self-service. So you open the fridge and you'll see some cheese or some sausages and some drinks, and there'll be a price, and you just kind of put your money in a little box there. It's kind of an honor system, but it is so cool and so authentic. Again, a unique Swiss feature to have so much infrastructure and hospitality in these remote hiking areas. Right.
Okay, here we go. Yeah, that was one of the restaurants after a hike. We just had something to drink there, and that was near Lauterbrunnen, where all these waterfalls were. You had a good hike, and then you're tired, you have a salad platter. And as we said, if you get tired, just take the train home. So if you can't go to Switzerland right now, or if you just would like to be immersed into Swiss culture around here, I'm part of the Peninsula Swiss Club. I'm very involved in the Swiss community here, and we always like to welcome new members. You do not have to be Swiss to join. You just have to like Switzerland, and that's good enough for us. So there's a little movie to show what we're all about.
Grazie, bonjour, buongiorno, buondì, and welcome. This is where Switzerland meets Silicon Valley. The Peninsula Swiss Club was established back in 1961. Throughout our almost 60 years, we've continued to bring Swiss traditions to Swiss families and friends of Switzerland. Our family-oriented club provides a number of events to bring Swiss culture, food, and great Swiss atmosphere for those who are missing Switzerland or want a great place for their kids to learn about their Swiss heritage. We partner with the United Swiss Societies of Northern California to connect with other Swiss clubs throughout the area. We have events that are extra special for kids, like Easter and Samichlaus at Christmas. We offer camping, hiking, wine tasting, the list goes on. Come see what we're all about. For more information, go to peninsula-swissclub.com. Bis bald, à bientôt, arrivederci, à plus tard, see you soon.
And this is Monica. This is her outport. That's her sound.
Yep. So if you live more in the East Bay, this is the Swiss Park in Newark. There is also a Swiss club. They're called the Alplergruppe, and they have very similar events to us. Very great people there as well. We do have also all the Swiss clubs in the area. We organize the 1st of August is the Swiss national holiday. Around the 1st of August, we have they have a park outside, and it's a beautiful event to go to, where we sometimes actually they serve bratwursts there, and sometimes I bring my Alphorn and play there, and the Swiss Council comes and usually speaks as well. It's a great way to be immersed in Swiss culture if you can't go there.
And if you're a wrestler, you can learn Schwingen, which is a Swiss wrestling activity unique just to Switzerland. So it's one of the few places where you can practice. And some of these Swiss wrestlers that learn Schwingen, they go to Switzerland and compete with the real guys, and it's quite an experience. Well, we've now we've now walked through or taken you through some of the highlights of the country, and we thought we would list a few useful links for your information, or you can kind of plan your own trip or learn more about what it takes to go to Switzerland. Eco Trails, here you can contact us if you're interested in a guided day hike or multi-day hike or a train tour. Monica, what are some of the other links you have found have been helpful?
ch.ch. Actually, ch, I don't know if you know, that stands for Switzerland. It's the official Switzerland. It's Confederatio Helvetica. It's the Roman name for Switzerland. So this is the site you want to go to check out the rules. Just right now with COVID, that you would find it there, what you have to do with being vaccinated or not, what the rules are. MySwitzerland.com is a Swiss tourism site. You can find a lot of pictures, a lot of ideas what you can do in Switzerland. SBB is the Federal Railway. So once you decide you want to go to Switzerland, we suggest you go on that site to find out what the best way is to travel inside in Switzerland. Swiss Info is also Swiss News and Current Affairs, a good site to go to before you travel. I like the new apps now. I've found Swiss Travel Guides. You can plan your trip. You can see what museums are open, where you want to go. SBB Mobile, again, you can get your train ticket right on your phone, and you're good to go.
Great. Well, thanks for reviewing this, Monica. And I think at this stage, we want to maybe just open this up for a Q&A. I know we have a chat feature on the program here. And so I think if I stop share, let me see here. I'll try to answer. Let's see. I have a question here. I'm going to Switzerland in October. The tour will end in Geneva. I would like to visit Matterhorn and Mont Blanc. What would be the best way to do it? Can I connect Matterhorn and the Mont Blanc in one trip, or both? Should I start from Geneva? Okay, so from Geneva, let's see. This is what I've done. When I have been in Zermatt, I've taken the train to Montreux, and one of the stations there connects to the train that takes you to the Mont Blanc. That's what I know. Yeah. So that would be my suggestion if you're in Switzerland. Take the train, and you can, with the Swiss pass. The Swiss pass is good to the Mont Blanc too. So it's that would be my recommendation on connecting the Matterhorn and the Mont Blanc. Monica, did you have anything else to add?
No, that's you're more experienced in traveling inside.
Another question we have: does Switzerland have a low rate of crime? Are there particular areas of Switzerland to avoid? Yeah, it has a low rate of crime. I think for a lot of reasons. It's a very safe country. I'll give you an example of a good story. We're on a train tour. We've done about 4 or 5 train connections in a day. And so we're going from one platform to the next. It's late in the afternoon. One of our people kind of was in a daze, right? You stop, you get out and go to the next train. All of a sudden we're in the next train, and this one lady realized, I left my bag in the other train, her whole handbag with her money and her passport and all that kind of thing. And this was like a Wednesday. And then on the Saturday, she was going to be flying back home. So you don't have a passport, you can't leave. Well, the story, well, I got on the phone, I talked with our office. We put in a lost, baggage claim report with the rail service. And sure enough, the next day, we got a call, look, we found your bag. This is where you can go. And so I'm just using that as an example of how if you lose something, people are honest enough to kind of give it back, and she got her bag with all her things on it. So I've lost a hat on a trail, and a couple days later I go back and somebody put it on a post. So I think you have to just be careful on the trains going to the Zurich airport. You have to just make sure that you don't leave a purse open at your seat and then leave it. But overall, Switzerland, I would say, is very safe, very low crime. Maybe there's one shooting a year or something like that, even though every male pretty much has an automatic rifle in his closet, since Switzerland has a reserve military. Again, low crime. And another one,
did I hear reading in Romanish, right? There's the first question.
Romanish,
as you did in the movie Peninsula Swiss Club, a little movie.
Oh, bon dia. Bon dia, viva. Well, if you take a toast, viva, allegra is welcome. Yeah, so it's a very unique Latin language with, again, 5 different dialects. And so I think you have to kind of be born in the family to get it. I don't know too many people that learn the Romansh from the outside.
Yeah. So any tips to save money while traveling in Switzerland? You can stay in Airbnbs. They're very reasonable. Compared to here, I have to say, 20 years ago when we moved here, Switzerland was extremely expensive compared to here, the Bay Area. And now, but the prices haven't actually gone up too much. Save money. You can stay in those hostels, youth hostels. You don't have to be youth to stay there. You can stay there pretty cheap. When you eat out, make sure you there are no refills on drinks. So don't order too many drinks. That is the most expensive part. You can take picnics with you, go to the local store, just buy a picnic. Some of the trails actually have picnic, even little
benches. Yeah, public areas where you can actually grill. But like Monica was saying, if you go to the retail grocery stores, for lunch or whatever, they have pre-packaged salads and all this kind of thing. So, that's one way to reduce on the food. But at the same time, I think we have to be honest. The Swiss franc is just a very hard currency, just because it's backed by gold, and right now the exchange rate is $1 is equivalent to about 90. $1 is 90 centimes. So it's not quite 1-to-1. It's more in the Swiss franc favor. So we're not going to say it's inexpensive. And some of the prices that you see on the windows for clothes and things are maybe a little bit higher than you might be used to. But again, it's just a hard currency country. So
the good thing though, when you go to the grocery store or the store and all, you pay what you see. So if there's the tax is already included. So if it's $9.99, you pay $9.99. And then also in the restaurants, you have to realize it might be a little more expensive there, but there you don't have to leave a tip, or the tip is very small. So if you pay, let's say for a drink, you pay $4.50, you might leave $4.70 or something like that, or you round up. If it costs $4.90, you might leave 5 francs, but
right.
You do not tip 20% or even 10%. That's too much.
Yeah. Here we have a question. Let's see. Can you share any info about wheelchair travel within Switzerland? I must say, it is very wheelchair friendly. Getting on the trains, the train platform is level to the platform that you wait on, and many of the yellow postal buses, they'll actually lean the bus so that a wheelchair person can get in easily. So I would say it is, at least from a transportation perspective, it is very wheelchair friendly. We have
the next question. Can you get public transport tickets that are valid for 1 to 3 weeks and can be used on all kinds of transports? Yes. A good way to travel is with the Swiss travel system. So if you Google that, SBB, that's for the Federal Railway Swiss travel system, they have, especially for tourists, I believe 1 day, 3 day, 5 days, and 15 days passes. So with the 15-day pass, you can choose to have just consecutive 15 days, or you can choose to have 15 days, but you can choose those days when you travel. And yes, there are, once you have that, there are valid on all trains, trams, buses, boats, some of the cable cars and cogwheel cars, and some of the museums will be discounted with that. There are lots of options you can check out. So just go on the website. It's available in English as well, so you can find out easily.
Right. We have a question here. Are the Alps senior friendly? I'm going to assume this means, is it easy to walk? And I would say yes, because most of the summits, the beautiful summits with the views, you can access via public transportation. If it's a cogwheel train or a gondola or a cable car. And even one of the neat hikes through Switzerland, the Via Alpina, it's level. Yeah, there may be some ups and downs, but I have to say, since many of our passengers are seniors, there's not a problem here if you're at kind of an average health, if you will.
Yeah, the next one is, I think, more a note. They traveled in Switzerland with the rail pass, exactly what I've been talking about, and they have the museums discounts. And yeah, you're right, the best tasting cold water. You can, when you see a fountain in Switzerland, you can actually drink that water, unless it says, they will say it's not drinkable. It's really fresh water everywhere. So I think Zurich has some, I think they said 1,500 water fountains just in Zurich alone.
And it's free. That's one of the few things that's free. It's free and drinkable. And I see there's a Sharon here, ex-TWA. Great, nice, you know, to have TWA folks still know what TWA is and can talk about it. Yeah, I'm glad you had a good times laying over in Zurich and Geneva. Yeah, we had a daily flight in those days. It was a great experience. Enjoyed tremendous. What's a good time to go?
Yeah, so actually, when you look at the weather, the most likely to be not raining is in September, actually. So September is one of the best months to go. Switzerland has the Middle European weather. It can be rainy, it can be cold, foggy, but it has its. It depends what you want to do. So just plan for everything. Bring a rain jacket always. Bring an umbrella. Plan on doing something indoors if it's too rainy. September, I would say, but if you like skiing, of course, it's beautiful in December, January, February. I mean, June, July can be beautiful. It can be really warm. One of my favorites to do, and it gets a little bit too cold in September. If you go in June and July, you're going to be able to swim in the lakes. They do these things now, or streams. They do these things now where they jump into the Aare and just go down and get back out and jump in again. Yeah. So that's a good thing to do in June or July.
Yeah, make sure you bring a swimsuit, like Monica was saying. And all our programs start, most of them, June through September. Again, in June, on the higher elevations, you still may have some snow. But again, I've guided people, you know, in June through September. We guarantee weather, and usually on a week, you know, on a week's program, maybe you can expect one day of inclement weather, but you just want to layer up. Just because in Lucerne, you're at 1,200 feet. If you go to the Jungfraujoch, you're at 11,300. So you just kind of layer up. And, but like what Monica was saying, if you talk with the hoteliers, they'll tell you in the Alps, September is really the best time. But anyway, anytime June through September, it's not that crowded when you want to go on a day hike or on a multi-day hike or on a train tour. So, you know, summer's a good time to plan.
And then there's someone who says myswissalps.com. Great suggestion. I'll check that out.
Okay, right. Very good. Well, I think those are hopefully we've answered your Q&A or answered some of these questions, and hopefully there's been some helpful tips here for you to start thinking about your trip to Switzerland, or something that can enhance your trip to Switzerland. So at this point, I believe I should pass this back to Todd here at the library.
Thank you, Renee and Monica. Thank you, everyone, for showing up today.